Hi guys, this is Joyce at Medusa Was Framed, and I was working on the story that I'm putting together now for you, which is about some backstory on some of the Jekyll Island stuff, which was a subscriber request, by the way, so shout out to you. I stumbled upon some information that confirmed a couple other things that I'd already been made aware of. First of all, there was a video that I saw on Sarge's channel, Icons, that illustrated a gentleman who was, shortly, he was a religious gentleman who worked in the prophetic, who had been led to work to clear some ancient altars from different places in the earth. And he spent some years doing that. Sarge played an interview with this man that was done by another gentleman, a radio interview, where this gentleman spoke of his interaction with the archaeologists when they found the Canaanite altar below the area where the hotels had been involved in the Federal Reserve process. Confirming that on a completely separate time and circumstance, and without mentioning one or the other, my friend Andrew Zabrun of the channel Andrew Zabrun III spoke to me of his remote viewing Jekyll Island and seeing that there was a Canaanite human sacrifice altar there. I later found out he had no knowledge of the aforementioned video. Now, last night when I was working, putting together the information for my not really just my Federal Reserve video, but I should say my Jekyll Island video, I learned a little bit more about this. And this comes into the suggestion that any of the indigenous peoples, or people that we consider indigenous, shall we say, that were found by the colonial Europeans might not have been the same lines as the indigenous that exist today, but may in fact have been another group of people altogether. This gentleman in these videos refers to them as Nephalim. There's a lot of mention of the Nephalim right now. So I'm bringing this back to where I live, St. Augustine, where the indigenous people who were wiped out in less than 200 years that inhabited this place when the Spanish arrived, which we incorrectly refer to as the Timucua. That's not how they referred to themselves. That is the name of their language. It's not how they referred to themselves. Were giants, and there's archaeological evidence to prove it. They were between 6 and 8 feet tall. There are photographs that exist. They were very high-cheeked boned individuals, at least the photos that I have seen. They were covered in tattoos, the tattoos representing different accomplishments in the way that people wear badges and things now. They were tattooed for different accomplishments that they had achieved in their lives, like Polynesian culture, which stands to reason. Larger bones have been found in Florida than 8 feet tall. And this may sound goofy, but I am a fairly sensitive person to energies and frequencies, and I can remote view, and I can see ley lines energetically, and I am also able to see entities. And I have seen giants in the forest. I have seen exceedingly large giants, much larger than 6 or 8 feet. When I was with my friend Angelique a couple weekends ago driving in the western portion of the state, I saw, actually we both saw giants that were 20 feet tall, at least. But understand, when you see things energetically, you don't see them like you see my hand. You see a frequency band. You see an orb of moving energy. You get a sense of their intention more than you see faces and things like that. It's more of a frequency exchange. At least that's how I experienced that. Anyway, what I wanted to do, because this was so pressing, people have suggested to me that it's possible that the Timucua, who were indigenous here, were actually descendants of the giants, which some people call the Nephalim. We have a lot of Indian mounds here in Florida, a lot. There may well be mounds here in St. Augustine. I'm not consciously aware of any, but if you watch Michelle Gibson videos and other videos, you know that it's quite likely that every single golf course in the United States is an Indian mound. And many of them are owned by the military, so you can't touch them. I believe that our star fort here, the Castillo San Marcos, was absolutely built on extremely hallowed ground. It is built up, as all star forts are. There's a reason it was placed there, for the interaction of ley lines that I have felt in more than one ceremony that I've done there. So the suggestion has been made to me, not by anything that I've seen in anyone's video, but people that I've spoken to in person have suggested that the Timucua, who were very unique culturally, apparently, to the area, they did not assimilate at all the way the other indigenous people did. The people that we call the Creek, the people that we call the Seminole, both of those names are actually derogatory, but they continue to refer to themselves that way, so what you gonna do? During the process of the Treaty of Molte Creek and trying to move these heathen Indians out of Florida, they, in many cases, those who had survived all the battles, chose to assimilate and work together to be allowed to live. And the Timucua did not. They never assimilated. They would never pair up and join the other indigenous tribes to become more palatable to the Spanish and British who were here working so hard to colonize them. And that's part of why they were wiped out. They just wouldn't play. So yeah, it has been suggested to me that the Timucua were ancestors of these potentially Nephalim giants, these otherworldly giants, that there were indigenous that were in this area, as were the Gol in Georgia, which were also giants, which were the peoples that were there on those islands and on the coast of Georgia when Oglethorpe and the British arrived, were So those that were there when the colonizers arrived were the offspring of breeding between the Nephalim, or whatever you want to call them, and the indigenous that were there at the time. I wanted to look at that, especially because the Timucua were just so iconographic. They really stood out. The more I vibe into them using my skills and tools and remote viewing and things, and especially the tattooed aspect, they seem Polynesian to me, Atlantean, if you pursue that. All of the indigenous here, because shells were such a huge part of the culture. So I just wanted to look, after I've done all that talking, I just wanted to see if I could get a little bit of information about that. I put these cards out because they're pretty, but they're not the first cards I want to use. I'm going to say I'm using my Raymond Grace dowsing chart here, and I want to see if so this is a Raymond Grace standard chart that you can download from his website. You can also just get a piece of paper and draw a circle and write whatever you want on it and program it spiritually, and then it will become a device for you. Yes would be this direction on the chart, and no would be this direction, and I've got A through Z written here on the inner circle. But first, let me see, can we use the pendulum today to, well, it's already saying yes, to get a little bit of information about the heritage of the Timucua? That's a very strong yes. Can we use the letters on the inner circle to do some spelling? And that's turning into a no. Okay. All right. Well, so let's just do this. Are the people we call the Timucua descendants of those referred to as the giants? That's a very strong yes. Are the people we call the Timucua hybrids of, and it's going to no. Okay. So let's just come right out and ask this. Are the people we call the Timucua the Nephalim? It's saying yes, but not very strongly. Can I ask a question about the name? The names the Timucua used for themselves? Yes. Oh, well, this will be interesting. Let me get my paper and write things down. Very appropriately to be in the notes where I'm collecting notes for the video. Could you please use the inner circle to give me a name that the people we call the Timucua used to refer to themselves? So it's saying yes, and it's getting ready to spin and then go into spelling. That's a P. O. M. Are you finished? Yes. Huh. That's interesting. Referred to themselves as the palm. I don't remember what video it was. I have touched on the names that I could find that indicated the way that the Timucua referred to themselves. Of course, they've all been dead since the middle of the 1700s, so there's no one that we can go ask. I also got into what the people we call the Seminole referred to themselves, which in most cases was Musiki, and the people we refer to as the Creek referred to themselves and whatnot. But I don't remember off the top of my head what the Timucua are stated to refer to them as. Timucua was the language that they used, as we're told. So, palm, that's interesting. Let me ask this. When speaking of the people we call the Timucua, would I be more respectful to refer to them as palm in the future? Well, that's a very strong yes. Is the word Timucua a derogatory word to the ancestors? Again, yes. Is it as derogatory to the ancestors as Seminole is to those ancestors? So it's... Well, so it's gone to not answering or not sure. So it's not as derogatory as Seminole. Seminole means runaway. Rather derogatory. Okay, I will be referring to them as palm going forward. Happy iced tea to you. This is delicious mango green tea. Because it's Florida and it's so hot outside. There's a big storm in South Florida that is wreaking some havoc on people down there. Let's see if we can get a read. Let's use the mausolea. If I may ask, please, can I get an overview sense about what the palm ancestors are willing to share with me about their descendancy from those we refer to as the Nephalim. 3 cards, please. General ancestral read. Wow. My friend Buffy, the occult examiner, is going to appreciate this read because I did a private reading for her last night. And these 2 cards were in that reading. So the last time I used this deck, these 2 cards came up. Thanatos, Lord of the Dead, and Anubis. This time we also have Jean the Maid, Guardian of Spirits, Disillusionment, and Champion. Kind of like Joan, or as they say in New Orleans, Joni on a pony. Thanatos is the god of the dead, like thanatology, the study of death and dying. He rules completion, support, and expediency. Anubis, arbiter of truth, holding the sword and the light. Preservation, neutrality, and obligation. Humility, disillusionment, and champion. Let me turn these around for a minute and get a sense. They came this way. Interesting that we have, well, I'm asking the ancestors. So we have the Lord of the Dead, which is very appropriate. So we're dealing with unconscious power. Beautiful. We're also dealing with truth. Notice how both of these masculine beings are holding the same blue light. And though they both live in the shadowed world, there is still light around them both. Some of the cards in this deck are very dark. And then we have the feminine with bluntly chopped hair. Very appropriate. Guarding the sacrifices, watched over by the crows. So in asking the ancestral spirits, or whatever you want to call them, of these people, heretofore now referred to as the Pom, the strongest force in this, I feel, is Jean. Humility. The pairing of disillusionment and neutrality and obligation. As I said, the Timucua, aka Pom, were wiped out in less than 200 years. By the Spanish. Because they didn't play, they didn't comply, they didn't assimilate. They would rather have died, it is to be believed, than to play along with something that was not accurate to them. That's very Anubian. And that lives on in Jean with her shorn hair and her humility. Their presence here is incredibly strong. I can't, if you're sensitive at all, I can't begin to tell you how strong their presence is here. Very sacred sites here in my perception to the truth of these people. Let me get let me pull a couple Kali cards, if I may ask, please. In the line of Jean the Maid, the champion of the saints, can I see a little of the Kali energy overseeing the frequency of these ancestors, please? 2 cards, please. On the Kali frequency of the poem. I have to read back. This is Shodashi. Shodashi cleanses the soul from past hurts. Very nice. Her presence indicates recovery and reclaiming of dignity after experiences of being judged, betrayed, and criticized. If your innate being has been put down in any way, or if there has been bullying or nastiness directed toward you, Shodashi brings healing and renewal so you can rise above and lay claim to your innate beauty and worth. Well, that's particularly profound because as I shuffled these cards, I was thinking of a place. It's actually a national park. It's called Fort Matanzas National Park, and I am screamingly, painfully aware of there being either a horrible multi-generational series of slaughters there, and or some kind of antiquitech buried under the marsh. It is the site of what was to have been the Huguenot slaughter by the butcher Menendez de Avila when he slaughtered what was left of the Fort Caroline escapees, the French Protestants who just wanted to be left the hell alone, but Spain would not let anyone alone. They wanted to convert everyone to Catholicism or kill them, and they did. And it is said to have occurred there. But more than that, there was an old star fort there that has been converted over time to... Actually, I don't think it was a star fort. Old maps make it look like an amphitheater. It's no longer an amphitheater. But, of course, it's a national park, so no one can dig and find out. I think what stands as currently the fort, called Fort Matanzas, was just part of the amphitheater complex that was built by these people, the Nephalim. I was thinking of that place where I have very vivid, very powerful experiences, and I have taken other friends who were sensitive there, and they have had equally powerful experiences, bringing spirits and entities back with them that they didn't know how to deal with. One of the things that I have done there for some time now is to go and to help the angry spirits move and process. A lot of slaughter has been done there, more than history tells you. A lot more than 300 people were killed there, I can tell you that, and a lot more than French Huguenots were killed there. So this card, Shodashi, being a champion of bullying and nastiness, and one who brings renewal and cleanse of past hurts, this was a card that I managed to bring to the surface while I was thinking of Fort Matanzas. Very interesting. Okay, this one is Kaja. A predestined series of events is sure to occur due to divine timing. This has been orchestrated at a higher level to integrate the paths of people with whom you have had soul contracts in this lifetime. Trust in the doors that close just as much as the doors that open to you as a result. Holy cow. So these two cards are the cards that I drew when I requested from the Palm ancestral spirits, following on the entree of Jean, the protector of the saints, the saintly sacrificers of the indigenous people. We have the champion of the bullies and the shamed, and the reminding of a bigger picture unfolding. Wow. Okay. Bottom of the deck, the Kali, was Lalita Tripuru Sundari. A chapter in your life is closing and will not be reopened. This will be reason for celebration. Whatever you need to release right now will create space for what is divinely destined for you to manifest through grace. You will enjoy a change of pace and release from intensity. Open your heart to the beginning of a golden era.